Good evening. Happy Wednesday. My apologies for the technical issues that I had earlier. I kind of messed up on my video and had to start over. My apologies for that. So it seems like something came up before it was supposed to, and I had to restart it. But here we are. Happy Wednesday. Glory and honor to our Father Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth, the one who is wisdom, the one who has all vision and all power, through whose vision and power, being the Alpha and Omega, guides us in the way we should go. Glory and honor to Father Yahweh. Glory and honor to Messiah, YHWH, the only one who the Father has appointed as the prophet, the priest, and the king. Above all is Messiah. Glory and honor to him who is our high priest and the atonement for our sin, and the way by which we receive the Father's perfect righteousness. Glory and honor to Messiah, YHWH. Greetings to the 12 tribes of Israel scattered into the four corners of the earth, who are now awakening to who they are, and more importantly, who their God is. Greetings to the 144,000, the forerunners of the prophet, priest, and king Messiah, soon to return to the earth. Greetings to the precious ones among the Gentiles, from the children of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, who are due to escape the terrible things about to hit the earth. Greetings to you. Greetings to the chat, Brother Lonnie, Sister Joyce, Brother Stephen Kelly, Brother Francis, Brother Ricky Boyd, Amanda Prakash, Hebrewish Rhonda, Brother David, Akawan Banya, V Dash. Good evening and happy Wednesday to all of you. By the way, just as an aside, by my calculations, this coming Sunday is the Pentecost. This coming Sunday is Pentecost. Now, I just want to make sure I stress this. We cannot keep Pentecost or any other feast here where we are now. Why? Why can't we keep any of the feasts right now, but we mark the feast for our future? Why can't we keep any of the feasts right now? Why can't we do it? Really? We can honor it. We can even get together. But it's right. We are not in our land. We are in our enemy's land. Brethren, never forget, if you understand you're an Israelite, you must equally understand you are not in your land. You're in your enemy's land. Okay? You must understand that. You know, I was listening to again, I want to stress, I don't believe everything Malcolm X or Khalid Abdul-Muhammad said is true, but I understand the spirit that they brought it in. So, for example, like I explained, Malcolm X brought forth our condition, though we all fell asleep, though we're suffering, didn't realize our condition. Khalid Abdul-Muhammad brought forth the rage that we feel, and he brought it intelligently, and he brought it very eloquently, if I might say. So he was saying something, and he was trying to remind us of our situation. And he said, somebody's got to remind you, because if I don't remind you, he said, you forget. Basically, I'm paraphrasing because I don't want to say exactly what he said, but he said, you'll forget who you are and where you are and what you are. You see, brethren, in the society which we now live, there's an emphasis on individuality. There's an emphasis on individuality. But the Bible, while it places an emphasis on our individual responsibilities, it also places an emphasis on us as a nation and our condition as a nation. And I'm not talking about the nation of Islam that's based in Chicago. I'm talking about what the Bible says, a scattered nation. We are a scattered nation. Our last iteration before we are gathered together is as a scattered nation. And let me give you a couple of Bible witnesses for that. Let me give you a few Bible witnesses. In fact, let's start. I'm in the New Testament. Let me start in Luke chapter 21. Luke chapter 21. Okay, Luke chapter 21. And of course, Messiah, again, we stress as we're studying Matthew during the weekends, we stress that Messiah's speeches, his talks, his counsel in the Gospels was given to Israel. He was not talking to Gentiles at any point in the Gospels, except when he called the woman a dog. Except when he said, have not so found great faith in Israel when he talked to the centurion. Generally, he was, other than that, maybe another instance where he's talking to the Samaritan woman, he's talking exclusively to Hebrew Israelites. Let us never forget that when you're reading these things. So now in Luke chapter 21, he's again talking to Hebrew Israelites and warning them about what's about to come on Israel and on Jerusalem in particular. Okay, and in Luke chapter 21, I'm going to begin at verse 20 and go down to verse 24. Luke, and again, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. We're talking about us as a scattered people. Okay, so now and I'm going to give you 4, but in Luke chapter 21, beginning at verse 20 and going down to verse 24, Luke chapter 21 from verse 20 to verse 24, listen to what it says. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. He's talking about the desolation of Jerusalem. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, that is the land of Israel, and wrath upon this people. What people? Hebrew Israelites. That's who he's talking to. That's not today. We're going to talk about that. But that's then. We were in the land. And he said, great distress in the land and wrath upon this people. Verse 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, talking about us, our forefathers, in the first century. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, which we are right now in the time of the Gentiles being fulfilled. And as we are here, what was our condition? We were taken captive into all nations. Therefore, we are what? Scattered. Y'all understand that? Testing 1, 2, 3. I'll make sure y'all catching that. We are scattered. So right now, if you're in the US, if you're in the UK, if you're in Canada, no matter what country you are in, you are part, as a Hebrew Israelite, of a scattered nation. And because you are scattered, you are not in your land. You are not in the New Jerusalem. You cannot officially keep any feast. You're in Babylon. You cannot officially keep any feast, including Pentecost coming up Sunday. Now, you can acknowledge it. You might get together with a few friends. It's on a Sunday, so you're off of your master's work. You're off the plantation on Sunday. You might be able to acknowledge it that way. But don't claim you're keeping the feast, because it's not. You're not in your land. Everybody got that, right? Okay, wait, that's one witness. Let's get some other ones. Let's get some other witnesses. We are scattered people, and let's let the Bible show us that. Let's go to, of course, we got to go to Moses. Let's go to Moses, Deuteronomy. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Okay, Deuteronomy. I'm going to go, I could go to a couple places in Deuteronomy, but I'm going to go to one because we got other witnesses. Deuteronomy chapter 4, Deuteronomy chapter 4, beginning at verse 26 and going from verse 26 down to verse 27. I could go to 28. Y'all know I could go to Deuteronomy 28. I could also go to Deuteronomy 9, but we just getting one witness from Moses. We already got one from Luke and the Messiah. But let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 26 and 27. Deuteronomy 4, I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, says Moses, that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto ye go over Jordan to possess it. And ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed, which Messiah talked about in Luke. And Yahweh shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither Yahweh shall lead you. So here we are, United States of America. Let me ask you a question, just in terms of pure population. Are the Hebrews in the majority? In this nation of almost 350 million people, are the Hebrews in the majority? Are they the majority here? Or are the heathen in the majority? See, just like the Messiah said. So we're scattered. We're scattered into our enemy's land. Okay, we're scattered in our enemy's land. And those lands that we dwell where there's a lot of us, let's see, like I like to pick on Haiti and Dominican Republic because it's such a stark example. Dominican Republic, although it's an independent country, it is what we call colonized. What does that mean? That means they are controlled and their culture is run by the people that took them over. Is that correct? Am I correct in that? Let me ask you, is the Dominican Republic a culture of the Hebrews? Is it a culture from the Bible? Or is it a culture from the Europeans? I mean, do they speak Hebrew? Do they speak the original language? Or do they speak a European language? Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Colonized. So here we are in the United States in our enemy's land, being colonized into our enemy's land. And then if you happen to be on an island somewhere, you still colonized. They still control you. You have the Eurocentric culture. Wait a minute. If I only gave you two witnesses, let me give you some more. Hold on. Let me give you some more. Isaiah chapter 11. Isaiah chapter 11. Isaiah chapter 11. This is talking about, and you're going to see, as he's bringing us back, which means we were scattered. Notice again, Isaiah chapter 11. Isaiah chapter 11. I'm going to begin at verse 10. I'm going to begin at verse 10 and go down from verse 10 down to verse 12. Isaiah chapter 11, Isaiah 11 from verse 10 to verse 12. Isaiah 11, 10 to 12. And I want you to notice where we be coming from in Isaiah 11, 10 to 12. In that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall set his hand again, the second time, to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt, or Mizraim, from Pathros and from Cush. Wait a minute. Mizraim, Pathros, and Cush today are on a continent that we call Africa. And Elam, and Shinar, and Amath, and the islands of the sea. In other words, he's going to recover us from our scattered state. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel. And just in case you thought he forgot about the division, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Witness 3. Wait a minute. Let's look and see what Jeremiah got to say about this. What does brother Levite, Hebrew Israelite, Jeremiah got to say about this? Brother Levite, Hebrew Israelite, Jeremiah. What he got to say about this? Let's take a look at it. This is Jeremiah chapter 23. Going to begin at verse 5 and go down to verse 8. Jeremiah 23 from verse 5 to verse 8. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch. And a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days, Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is his name, whereby he shall be called Yahweh, our righteousness. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all the countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. There it is again. How many is that? See, Luke, we did Moses, we did Isaiah, we did Jeremiah. I could also go to Zephaniah and, of course, Ezekiel. I could go to a couple more places, but I think you get the point. We are scattered throughout all the nations, that we are scattered among the Gentiles. We are not in our own land. And we can't, the whole point of feasts, listen carefully, is to celebrate us being in the land. That's the whole point of feasts. Of the 3 appointed feasts, the Passover, which is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, commemorates the deliverance from Egypt to get to our own land. The Feast of Weeks commemorates the first fruits of the barley harvest in our land. The Feast of Ingathering commemorates the ingathering of all of the fruits of our land, and that we're no more wanderers. That's why I built tents out of palm branches. See, all of the feasts commemorate us in the land. And we're not now in the land. See? And look, the people that, there's been people I've heard, all kinds of people, we're bound forever to keep the feast. Yep. We were supposed to be bound forever to be in our land too. But we're not. We will be, but we're not. We will be. That's the promise. Speaking of that, brethren, the Bible talks about certain things, right? The greatest hope of the Bible is the return of the Messiah. That's the greatest hope of the Bible. The return of the Messiah and the establishment of the kingdom. Am I right? That's the greatest hope in the Bible. The return of the Messiah and the establishment of the kingdom, which will last forever, as Daniel said. Okay? And the Messiah is not going to return in secret. The Bible says every eye shall see him, and those also which pierced him. He himself said, ye shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, sitting in the clouds of heaven. So it's going to be an amazing sight, a loud sight, a sight that would cause many people that don't believe the Bible, to think we're crazy. So what I'm saying is, one day, Messiah is going to bust through the clouds of the firmament. One day soon, he's going to bust through the clouds of the firmament. I know that sounds crazy, right? But as you know, when Noah said there was going to be a flood, the people thought he was crazy too. So that's okay. That's par for the course. I've heard even Malcolm X say, ain't nobody coming in the clouds to save us. I heard people say that. And so look, I look at it like this. Either you believe the Bible or you don't. And that's fine. See, that's the thing. I'm not going to argue with somebody say, I don't believe that. Okay, fine. Don't believe it. But my message that's on my tongue is for those that believe the Bible. Period. End of story. Whole thing. No chaser. Straight. Do you believe it or don't you? If you don't, keep stepping. If you do, I got more for you. You do you, boo. That's right. You do you, boo. Okay? But it's come down to that. It comes down to that. Okay? Either you believe the book or don't. Don't half believe it or say I believe parts of it. Either believe the book or don't. I know it's an amazing thing to talk about people being raised from the dead. Have you ever seen anybody raised from the dead? I haven't, but I believe it's going to happen. I believe the record that it did happen. And I believe Ezekiel talks about it happening, as well as the Messiah talks about it happening, as well as Daniel talks about it happening. I believe the prophets. And I know that's what they talk about. There's no way to, don't see, you cannot rationalize away those things. Some people, I've heard people try to rationalize it away. You thought, it says what it says, bro. Either you in it or you not. It says what it says. See, don't be fronting, don't be faking, don't be half stepping. If you win, you win. If you're not, you're not. Don't say, oh, I believe the Old Testament, but Paul is not inspired. Just leave it alone. Don't be a stupid hypocrite. Don't do that. Just leave. Just leave. Or be in. Can't be both. If you're going to be in, be all in. If you're going to be out, get out. Because half-stepping ain't going to help you. That's why the Bible says, I'd rather you be cold or hot. Don't be lukewarm. I'm going to spit you out. You make me sick. You half in, half out. Either be in or be out. See, that's what it comes down to. And brethren, that's what makes us different from everybody else on the planet. We're trusting the Father, and we're trusting his word by itself. We're in. We decide we're in. Okay. Now, that brings me to tonight's study. Okay, look here. I'm not into alarming people or scaring people. I really am not. I'm just, as you all know, as you all are, as my brethren, you are, and I am into Bible truth. See? And all of us are learning to trust our Heavenly Father and our cousin, the Messiah. We're learning to trust our Heavenly Father and our cousin, the Messiah. Seriously. And we are learning to do this. It's a process. It's not like, oh yeah, simple. Just trust in Jesus. Anybody know the real? On the ground, on the floor with 10 toes on the ground, you know, boots on the ground. The Most High is guiding us to teach us to trust him. With trials and tribulations, inside and out, teaching us to trust him and preparing us for what's just ahead of us. Now, with that in mind, brethren, I want to go over some current events. Wednesdays are current events. If you look at the thumbnail, it's the usual. Now, the difference with this one, though, is all of these events that I'm going to tell you happened in Florida. Even one of them happened right here in my county, not far from us. And of course, they're going to illustrate where we at in Bible prophecy. Okay? Now, the Messiah said in Matthew chapter 24, talking about the same events, actually, that he talked about in Luke chapter 21. But here in Matthew 24, he's telling the people to flee from Jerusalem when they're seeing certain signs, right? Right? So, and we just read in Luke where he said, when you see armies gather about Jerusalem, get out. That's what he said, get out. Okay? And here in Matthew, he says the same thing pretty much, but let's talk about Matthew chapter 24, beginning at verse 14, and from verse 14 down to verse 20. Actually, 14 to 22. Matthew chapter 24, from verse 14 to 22, very similar to Luke chapter 21. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, then shall the end come. And when ye, therefore, shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, we're going to that in a moment. Stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let him which be in Judea flee into the mountains, and let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. Woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Shabbat day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Now, he's talking about Jerusalem at that time. But the key thread here that we should understand is that he's talking to Hebrew Israelites, which we are. He's talking to Hebrew Israelites, and he's telling them at the time they dwelt in the land of Israel under Roman occupation. And he said, when you see the abomination spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, let me ask you all a question. Let me give you all some hints. Daniel chapter 2, the fourth metal, which goes all the way to the feet. Daniel chapter 7, the fourth beast, which has the little horn. Daniel chapter 8, the little horn that rises up and pushes evil by craft. Daniel chapter 11, the king of the north. Who is that? Who is that? The abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet. Who is that? Who is that fourth metal in Daniel 2? The fourth beast, out of which comes the little horn in Daniel 7. Who is the little horn of Daniel 8 that raises up against the truth and is successful? Who is that in Daniel 11, the king of the north, that raises up the God of forces and divides the land for gain? That's right. It is the Roman Catholic Church. So in the Most High, in the Messiah's day, that represented Rome and the image of Rome, which came and was placed in the sanctuary. The image of the Roman emperor was placed in the sanctuary in Jerusalem because Rome was saying, we control this. This is ours. It was Rome saying, we control this. This is ours. Now, in modern times, we understand there are three Abrahamic religions led by Rome. That is Christianity, that is Islam, that is the Ashkenazi Judaism. Three Abrahamic religions. They've been pushing this for a long time. In fact, I was just thinking about this. There's two sets of documentaries. One from the 1930s, or no, it was 1940s. And the other one that was more modern, like after 2000 something. They're both called Why We Fight. Why We Fight. I have both of them, but I can't play them because I don't even have I used to have a DVD player, and I used to have a tape player, old tape player, where they don't work anymore. I don't even have them, but it's called Why We Fight. The one from the 1940s was talking about Hitler, Mussolini, and Hirohito, and talking about them as the Axis powers. And it was on VHS. I don't even have it no more, but it was talking about them as the Axis powers and why the United States had to enter the war. And during the course of that video, it's called Why We Fight from the 1940s. Yes, it was on VHS. I don't know if they're still selling it, but it's on VHS. And they mention, one of the reasons that we need to fight is to keep our religious freedom. And it might be on YouTube. Yeah, it's called Why We Fight. Look it up. It's from the 19. There's two versions. The modern version I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the 1940s version. It was a propaganda piece used to get people in America, made in a propaganda style and in cartoons to get people riled up to join World War II. And so they use the three Abrahamic religions. They show people going to the synagogue. They show people going to church. They show people, and they show the Quran. And they're saying, this is why we fight. We want to maintain our religious freedoms and our way of worship. And they used the three of bread. This was back in the 40s. Why we fight. That's right. So, brethren, I say that to say you have the same thing that Messiah talked about then, now, except now it's in the form of the three Abrahamic religions. Okay? Okay? It's in the form of the three Abrahamic religions. Now, you and I, so many of us are going to end up running or moving from where we are, especially if you're in the United States. I say especially if you're in the United States. So let's go into the current events from just Florida. This is happening all over the place. And this is aside from the sex trafficking, the human trafficking, the people killing babies, the people killing their own family. This is beside all that. As a matter of fact, one of the pictures, the top part of the thumbnail, you see a car, you see police tape, you see an ambulance. What was that about? It was one of many. And I mean, I don't know what's going on down there, but in Miami, Florida, there's been a bunch of murder-suicides. This one here, two elderly people, one was in hospice care, but at home. They were both killed, and their son killed them, and then he killed his wife, and then he killed himself. And the murder-suicides have been going on, elderly, young, everywhere. In Miami, especially South Florida. They've been killing each other to no end. It's almost epidemic. That was the top. If you just do a Google search on murder-suicide, you'll see a lot in Florida. It's a lot. Okay. On the bottom left, here in Florida where I live, Lake County, a young man walks into a convenience store with his gun locked and loaded and pointed at the clerk. The clerk saw him when he came in with the gun, and before the clerk could move, the young man shot him in the chest multiple times and killed him. The man was 50 years old. He was a father of 5. And he did it for $40. His name was Alex Lopez, the man that the murderer. They're looking for him. They ain't caught him yet, but they won't find him. So Alex Lopez walked in. He's the guy with the mask on. He walked in to the convenience store at 9:30 at night. This was like in the last week. Killed the clerk. Before the clerk could move, killed him. Boom, boom, boom. Jumped over the counter, took $40 and left. That's how desperate people are. That's how drug crazed they are. And it's getting worse, not better. The middle picture, the young Spanish-looking man, Northern tribe-looking man, and on the left was a woman. That was his mother. This young man graduated at the top of his class in high school, valedictorian. The young man on the right, at the top of his class. His mother was so proud of him. And then he went to University of Florida on a full scholarship because he was so smart. And his mother kept sending him money to make sure he had money in his pocket so he could focus on his studies. He's a pre-med student, University of Florida. I think it was yesterday or the day before. He called his mother and said he was coming over. She was excited to see him, for real. And by all accounts, this was almost a perfect mom. She loved him. So he walks up and they show it on her Ring camera. He has a knife behind his back. She don't know it. She opens the door to hug him. He stabs her to death. And they asked him why. And he said, no particular reason. I just felt like doing it. Valedictorian of his high school class, pre-med student. And they asked him, did you have any problem with your mom? No problem with her at all. She was a really good mom. I just wanted to kill her. Just like that. No reason, no history of abuse, nothing. And they have records of her calling him every day, sending him money regularly to take care of him. She was a school teacher. On the bottom right, 2 Hebrews. They got an fender bender, literally. That means somebody bumped into their car. You know how people are, especially here in Florida. They don't pay attention. And it was close to us. It was a stoplight. Bumped into their car. They jump out the car, okay? And they demand that the person come out. They car, of course, the person got the windows up, doors locked, and they banging on the windows of the door, trying to break the windows. There's a man and a woman. They're banging on the windows of the door. The woman takes out a gun. The man snatches the gun out of her hand. You think, okay, maybe he's trying to control the situation, but no. He takes the gun that he snatched out of his woman's hand and starts to try to break the glass of the car with his gun. The person videotaping this, a Hebrew sister, she saw it, and she's got a concealed carry license. She had her gat in her pocketbook. She was on the phone with her mother and told her mother, I gotta go, there's something happening. She pulls out her gat and tells the man, you don't want to go to jail, stop it. And when the man saw her with her gun, he left. But they were going off for a few minutes. They got it. I got the link in the description box. They were going off trying to break into this car for a few minutes, going crazy. What am I saying? What is all of this telling us? We are in the United States of America, the prophetic lamb-like beast of Revelation chapter 13. Things are going to get worse. They're already bad. People, I just gave you, this was all from this week, by the way. And there's a lot of more, okay? There's people, y'all heard about people getting shot in supermarkets. There's racist white supremacists go to supermarkets where they know black people are black neighborhood supermarkets, and black people ain't expecting no trouble. Happened in Buffalo, happened in Kentucky, happened in several places. They just walk in there and start killing black people because black people going shopping, and they think they're unarmed and they're unaware of what's going on. One guy did it in Kentucky. Prior to him going to the supermarket, he actually tried to get into a black church on a Sunday and kill as many as he could. But for some reason, he couldn't get in. That was in Louisville, Kentucky. It's not just Florida. It's going on everywhere. So, what I'm about to tell you, pray to the Father. It's getting to the point in the United States where if you could get out, get out. But make sure, don't go where you want to go. That's why I say pray about your flight. Don't go where you want to go. Pray to the Father that he sends you where he wants you to go. It's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. And not only that, I didn't even mention the number of senior citizens that are trying to live on their Social Security and can't. There was a woman this week. They had her on the news. She's in Miami, but she was a teacher. She retired after teaching public school for 30 years. She retired, and she has her house paid off. And she retired, and she said she thought she was just going to be able to travel, come back home, take care of her grandkids, for her children, and do all that. But the price of food, the price of gas, the property taxes, the insurance, this is her house paid off. She can't afford to live there anymore. So she's 72, and she's working. She had to go back to work to be able to stay in her house. She had to go back to work, 72 years old. And oftentimes myself, every time I go to the supermarket, I know how many people there that are older than me or my age, and there's a lot of them. They're behind the counter, they're at the cash register, and oftentimes their supervisor is some kid that could pass for their grandkid. And I know they don't want to be there. But I also understand it's hard out here for some people, and it's getting harder, brethren. And there are countries where a person can live and live pretty well on their Social Security. And that's why I'm saying pray to the Father. And I'll give you an example. If I had to, my wife and I could sell this house and get out of here and go live in another country right now. The Father say no. So that's why we're still here. We're still here waiting for the Father to show us where to go. We could leave right now. There's a number of countries we could go to and live without working right now. But the Father didn't give us the okay. He didn't give us the green light. He didn't show us where we're supposed to go. So we stay and put. And there's certain signs we're looking for from the Father, which he's going to show us in time when it's time. And I'm telling you, don't move without the Father's blessing, but pray. Pray. Pray to the Father about if you should leave and where you should go. Because I'm already seeing a number of Hebrews leaving the United States, especially. But they're not just the United States. Canada, the United States, all of the so-called developing countries. Great Britain, UK, they leaving there. And they're going to other countries where the monies that they've worked, saved, or earned, they can live better on. And it's not as politically, and that's what comes down to, brethren. The beast is both political and religious. The beast power is political and religious. And look, y'all seeing what's going on, man. You got one dude running for president, don't even know what day it is. They prop him, literally, they prop him up. And you got the other dude that's a notorious, bold-faced liar, convict and liar. That's what you got. That's what you got. And they're telling you only got these two choices. Just this week, CBS, and I don't know why they did it, but they're doing a series on what they call dark money. What is dark money? See, it used to be, until the Supreme Court changed it, it used to be that a person, a citizen or whoever from the United States was limited in how much he can contribute to a presidential candidate. I forgot what the number was. So there was a limit on how much you can contribute to a presidential candidate. Okay. And they used to, in order to get more money out of it, they used to do what they call bundling. Like a CEO would contribute for all his employees and count it as the employee's contribution in order to get the presidential candidate more money that he wanted. Right. And so you had to have the name, the address, a lot of information of the donor, because you were limited as to how much you were allowed to give to a presidential candidate. Well, they changed that. Now you have what they call dark money. What is dark money? A nonprofit organization can give unlimited funds to whatever president they want. So this is how slick they do it. This is how slick they do it. They create a nonprofit, billionaires. The billionaire creates a nonprofit, donates to the nonprofit unlimited amounts of money. And then the nonprofit donates to the presidential PAC. Just the other day, some nonprofit donated, and they don't have to name the nonprofit. Neither do they have to name the person that donated to the nonprofit. Neither do they have to name the nonprofit that donates to the PAC. And just the other day, a nonprofit donated $64 million to the Democratic candidate. Nobody knows where the money came from. It's called dark money. So now what am I saying? Well, what we kind of already knew is now in the open. Remember what we talked about being exposed last week? How everything's coming to light now is openly now legal that a president can be bought. It's openly legal. There's nothing wrong with it as far as the rules are concerned. There's no constitution. In fact, the Supreme Court opened the door for it to happen. A president can be purchased. So what does that mean? Forget the Constitution. Okay? It was already null and void for the Hebrew anyway. It really was already. First of all, we was only counted as 3/5 of a man. We was only counted as 3/5 of a man. Secondly, if you've ever been convicted of a felony, you could never vote in most states. Okay? You can never vote in most states if you convicted. So, and of course, they was arresting Hebrews and putting them on chain gangs long before the Civil Rights Movement. Now you can never vote. Okay? So the Constitution didn't mean nothing to Hebrews anyway. But now, forget it. It don't mean nothing to nobody. It don't mean nothing to nobody. Convicted felon running for president. Another dude don't even know where he is, gets $64 million, don't even know where it came from. Presidents can be bought and sold. No president is elected anymore. They're just telling you that. They've always been bought and sold. Okay? So that's where we are. That's exactly right. The rules bend. For example, January 6th, the attack, so-called attack on what was it? The Capitol, right? The Capitol attack of January 6th. I think it was, what was it, 2 years ago, right? Or 3 years ago? Capitol attack of January 6th. I think it was 3 years ago. Okay. Let me ask you an honest, serious question. Okay, ready? If all of those people were Black and Spanish and had guns and came to attack the Capitol, what do you suppose would have happened? If all of those people that came to January 6th were Black and they had guns and they came to attack the Capitol, what would have happened? They'd be all bagged up. They'd be all bagged up. And y'all know what I mean when I say that. They'd be all bagged up. It'd have been a bloodbath. And the people of the United States would have been cheering law enforcement, right? For mowing them down, stopping that threat. But instead, it wasn't that way. It was mostly children of Yafet that attacked the Capitol. They got all the way inside. They were threatening the vice president, their own cousin. Okay? And the guy now running says he's going to pardon everybody that was convicted of any crime for that. Because the rules only apply when they want them to. That's why the whole thing is going to be destroyed. That's why I say to you, pray about your flight. Open your mind. Some people are not even thinking in terms of, other countries. Ask the Most High to open your mind, open your spirit to wherever He really has you be. It don't have to be Africa. It could be Africa. It could be any place. It could be Asia. Any place. There's a lot of places. There's a big world out there. But hell's about to break loose. It's going to hit the fan in the United States. Like big time. It's about to hit the fan. Here. Big time. Pray about your flight. Maybe the Most High has you stay put. Maybe He doesn't. Pray that your ears and your spirit be open to hear your Father talking to you by His Spirit. Very important, brethren. Pray and follow His word. Do not veer from the pages of this book. Pray to your Father. He will not leave you nor forsake you. He will surely answer you and show you. He might have you wait, but He will surely answer you. 100% guarantee. Ask Him what you should do. And if you're in a situation, which a lot of us are, where you're just not financially able to go anywhere, you're trying to survive where you at, still pray and ask him to guide you. There's nothing that's too hard for the Father. There's nothing too hard for him. Praise the Most High, brother friends. There's nothing too hard for him. Okay, nothing. You might be stuck where you at because you got to be there. You're trying to just tread water. Hey, most of us been there, if not already there. But pray to the Father. I know myself. Where I live, I'm very fortunate. My wife and I wake up, we hear birds. It's quiet. At night, I'm in here 55 and over. Where I live, 8 o'clock is like 12 o'clock where most places everybody going to bed. It's quiet. You don't hear nothing. But I'm very cognizant that it's not like that outside of here. I'm very cognizant. And I have lived in places where it's not like that. And still, it's tugging at my spirit that I told my wife talked about, she said, well, maybe we could pass this house to the kids. I said, no, it's not going to happen. You're going to be leaving. And she knows it too, but she catches herself. She knows it. We're going to be leaving. We're not staying here. We know we're going to be leaving. I'm just waiting for the sign. You should wait for the sign. Pray to the Father. Wait for the sign. He'll show you where you got to go. Don't worry. You ain't going to have to. I'm making my plans for financial, to keep care of ourselves for 10 years, if I can. With the Social Security, hoping it lasts 10 years. Because I don't think this whole world ain't going to last. We talking about 2032. Yeah. So read your Bible, pray to the Father. It's very simple. Read your Bible, pray to the Father. He will show you. Some of us, he's already given dreams. Some of us are getting dreams already. Some of you don't understand what the dreams mean, and that's okay. He's just telling you he's going to talk to you and show you. He'll show you. You don't have to know today what the dream means. Just know he sent it to you. And it means something. And he will show you. Seriously. Some people think, because I do the same thing. I get a dream and I'm trying to interpret it. Sometimes it comes to me later. I didn't understand it at the time. And sometimes later. Sometimes way later. But no, he's talking to you. And he will reveal what you are seeing when it's time. But just talk to him and ask him. Father loves for us to trust him. He loves when his children trust him. He told Israel, he said, the cow knows where his master's crib is, but my people don't know where I am. Well, now we are awakening. We're awakening to who we are and who our God is. So now we know who our God is and who our Father is. Pray to him. Yeah. Just let the Father teach you. It will come so clear when it's time. I'm telling you, when it's time. But it may not happen. Like I had a dream. I could tell you 100 dreams, but I'm telling you just one. I had a dream 1988. I'm living in New York City, west side of Manhattan, 1988. Me, my wife, and my oldest. So now he shows me a dream where I'm preaching. In the dream, I see my face preaching. And I'm saying, all the churches are corrupt. And that was the dream. I see myself preaching this message, and there was power in my voice. It said, just 1988, all the churches are corrupt. When I got up from the dream, I told my wife about the dream, and I said, I'm going to be preaching against all these Sunday churches. I said, I'm going to be preaching against all these Sunday churches. Little did I know, here I am 40 years later, right? Almost 40 years later, 30 something years later. And I'm talking about all the churches are corrupt. All of them. Even then, I didn't understand it for about 20 years. Thinking, no, all the churches but the SDA church, my church is not corrupt. All the churches but the SDA church are corrupt. Little did I know. It was all churches. In fact, little did I know. It was Christianity itself. Little did I know. But you see, I didn't understand it until maybe 5 years ago. So that was 1988. Right? That was 1988. I didn't understand that for like 34 years. what I'm saying. See? So, brethren, pray to the Father about your flight. Let him, very important, because if you move without him, you're going to get yourself in trouble. Let him guide you. If you move without him, you're going to find yourself like a person with their pants down, exposed. Let him guide you, and he will make it plain to you. He'll make everything plain to you. Just ask him and wait. Exactly. Ask him and wait. Okay? And he'll guide you where you should go. Don't move without him. Move with him. Okay? He'll show you where you're supposed to go. Yep. Praise the Most High. He will do that, Stephen, because he's going to remove the scale, continue to do that. That's what he's doing to all of us. Scales are being moved from our eyes, and we're starting to see clear. Just don't be tempted to move ahead of him. Then you'll get in trouble. Always move with him. Okay? Always move with him. He'll guide you, and he'll give you dreams, and he'll show you what the dreams mean. Maybe not right away, but he'll show you what they mean. Some dreams I do know right away, but it's been a long time of dreams for me. I've been having dreams like this for 40 years, more. And so, I'm used to him showing me things. But then there's some things I still don't understand, and I just wait because I know he showed me in time. Okay, brethren. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom.